Hi there, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Finance Success. My name is John, and like always, we're going to be talking about economic and monetary issues. And I know that might not sound like fun, but this is the reason the USA is number one right now in the world. It's not because of how much military they have, it's because of their economic policies. So today, we're going to be going over what modern monetary theory is and why it's going to make you broke. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. What is modern monetary theory? Well, basically, it's a theory that is used around countries around the globe right now. As long as you have your own currency and your debt is denominated in that currency, then you don't have to worry about debt ever again if you're a country, or the government of the country, I should say. And the reason for this is because you could print as much as you want to get out of it. So you never have to worry about collecting tax dollars. And that's basically what the theory goes off of, is the fact that you no longer have to use taxes in order to pay for things. You could just print your way into getting whatever you want. And this is good and bad. So why is it good? Well, if you're a country like the USA, we can do basically as much MMTO as possible because we are the global reserve currency. And so this is good for a country like us. But a country like Venezuela or Greece or any other country who's got their debt denominated in either US dollars or euros, then the problem arises that they're not going to be able to print their way out of it. They can't just open a back door and go in through it. They actually have to work for it. And this is the problem that a lot of countries are facing right now. For instance, a country like Venezuela defaulted on two forms of its US debt. And this is a problem because they can't get their way out of it. So now you might be asking yourself, why would any country want to use debt that's not denominated in their own currency? Because obviously it makes a lot of sense to use it in your own currency because then you could print your way out of it like we see a lot of the countries around the world doing right now. And the problem why a lot of countries are not able to do this is it's normally third world countries that need to borrow some money in order to help prosperize their economy and, get it out of the third world country per se. And so most countries around the world aren't going to base their debt into, let's just say, a rupee or any of the forms of currencies out there. There's so many. They're going to want something that's more stable, more secure, because these third world countries can go broke overnight. It's crazy. So that's why they have it denominated in something like US dollar, which is the global reserve currency at this point. And so when they do this and they take out a lot of debt, eventually the debt just consumes the countries and they're unable to pay it off. And this is where they default on their debt. And this is a bad, bad thing. The reason defaulting on your debt is so bad, especially as a country, is because unless you restructure your debt, you have a possibility of paying this for hundreds of years, just the interest alone. And if you just don't flat out pay it altogether, it's going to completely blow your credibility as a nation. And this doesn't sound that bad, but it's really bad because then going forward, countries around the world are going to be super distrustful of your country and how they do the monetary and fiscal policy. They might not even get their money back. So a huge blow like this would be absolutely devastating to the third world countries that already are in desperate need of liquidity and cash. And so a blow like that is going to take decades to set them back to normal. And so that is why it's so bad when a country defaults on its debt. Now, a wealthy nation with their debt denominated in their own currency, this is not a problem for you. This is not a problem for the US, Great Britain, Canada. A lot of countries around the world are like this. And this is because everybody wants your cash. It's not like if someone went on the street and said, "You want $1?" Do you think they would turn you down? No. If someone on the street was offering you a rupee, would you even know what that is? No. The point is, everyone wants a valued currency, and a currency like the US dollar or the euro gives a lot of power to those nations. And when the governments like that just print a new dollar, obviously people are going to be lining up for that cash. And that's the thing. You don't even need to print nowadays. Most of the world's currency is all virtual and it's all fake. A lot of the dollars in circulation are actually credits from the bank and from the Federal Reserve. So, this is basically where the modern monetary theory kicks in. So now you no longer need to collect tax dollars to buy your new tank, fund your war, build and repair the roads. You could do whatever you want with the click of a button. All you have to do is print more dollars. And you don't even need to print nowadays. You just have to credit yourself because most of the money in circulation right now isn't physical currency. It's in fact just credit. Most of it's from fractional reserve banking and others is from the Federal Reserve, basically printing money out of thin air with a click of a button that shows up on your computer screen. Okay, so now I'm sure a lot of you right now are thinking, obviously they want tax dollars so they could spend the money. But in modern monetary theory, this is not the reason they tax you. It's actually far from it. The real reason is considering that they could print away all the money and all of their debts that they need to pay for, they don't need your tax dollars. They really don't. The reason that they want your tax dollars is to create an artificial demand. So when they increase the supply by just printing trillions of dollars out of thin air, it's not that big of a deal. Because if you increase the demand by that much, percentage wise, and you increase it by the respective supply, it's always going to be at equilibrium. So there's always going to be a constant value. So that's why you could only pay your taxes in the US in US dollars. It's not because they don't want any other currency, it's because they want to create an artificial demand. They want you to hold their currency because that's what gives it demand. And this is the same reason why the US goes to a lot of frickin' wars to make sure that countries around the world are using their currency that's forced upon them by the US. Um, an example of this could be the fact that the US made it outright illegal to buy and sell barrels of oil in any other currency besides the US dollar. And this is because, like I said, they're just trying to create an artificial demand because that way their currency is more valuable and they could print away. And so now you might be asking yourself, why doesn't every country just print away if it's free money and they can buy all the things they need? And the problem with this is every time you create one new dollar, you're devaluing the rest of the currency. And so you're inflating the currency, which means the value of it is just not what it used to be. And this is why we see inflation. And this is why the current financial system is made to make you broke. Unless you hold hard assets like real estate, stocks, or even crypto, your money is getting stolen away from you every year. And if you look at how much debt we have right now, do you really think they're going to raise taxes? Raising taxes is unpopular on both sides. And that's what we need to do with this amount of debt. And so the other way of taking that money and getting it is by printing dollars. And the only one that's going to hurt is the people that do not have assets. And that's usually the lower class. That's why I stress so much you have to hold hard assets. And this is why I really love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only true currency around the world that has very limited inflation and it's heading towards zero. So they can't steal your money away from you. They can't use it to buy whatever they think they need at the time. If they need the money, they'll tax you. And that's the most honest way of doing it because the lower class do not realize this invisible tax that's on them. Inflating their dollars is only hurting them. It's not hurting the upper class. So this is why I love Bitcoin with its hard cap supply of 21 million. This can never happen. Not to mention, you can't manipulate the currency nearly as much as the US dollar. In fact, you can't manipulate it at all unless everyone is on board with that. And the likelihood of that happening is near zero. Hey, did you like the video? If so, I'm glad to hear it. I have more videos coming out every week, twice a week. And if you want to see the next one, just click the link right over here.